It means dwelling of the people that are secure.
Mashkanot shananim.
And it is a basic thing here. Because again, although there was a need to leave the fortified area because of the terrible conditions, people were very reluctant to do it. So from, again, the Jewish point of view, the initiative was coming from somebody who came from outside. Moses Montefiore, who visited, by the way, the Holy Land for about 9 times. Okay? And with the wealth of Yehuda Tura from New Orleans, he purchased this piece of land. And it's very interesting because the land belonged to the Ottoman authorities. And there is a text in Hebrew, but it's from the English original, which shows the negotiation between Montefiore and the local Ottoman governor. And of course, Montefiore was wealthy, very well respected, and so what is the governor, one of the pashas, telling him in 1856? Yeah, of course, I'm going to give it to you as a present, as a gift.
Free.
For free.
No money, no money.
Which reminds us of what negotiation?
Abraham and
Hebron and Machpelah, right? Very good.
اختار المهمين.
Eventually, he paid. He paid a lot. He paid 1,000 pounds for the terrain. And he builds there, and it's marvelous that we have the model, 2 buildings. Not 3, as you can see here. He builds the large building that we're going to see in a moment when we're going to go down. And he builds the windmill, which is a landmark in the landscape of Jerusalem, of modern Jerusalem. He's bringing experts from England to build it. And it's very nice that today we can see a mechanism which is
Montefiore.
following the original mechanism that used to be here, because I told you I was born here, I spent my childhood here, I visit this place a lot. Children come here to do this tour of the Yetziat HaChomot, so they start here always with the windmill. And for years we remember that it didn't look like this.
No.
There was like a cup, and the wings did not look like this.
Smaller and black.
But a few years ago, there was an initiative from the municipality and other organizations, and they replaced the mechanism to restore it. This one was brought from Holland. So it is actually a Dutch mechanism, and it functions. It actually functions. Okay? So the idea to build here a windmill was also to give job to the people that lived here. So the idea is that the large building, and you're going to see down below, had 30-something apartments. Very nice apartments, by the way, when you compare them to the conditions inside the old city, because each apartment had 2 rooms and a bathroom and a toilet.
Oh, it's villa.
It's a villa.
At that time,
It's a villa. And of course, to give the people an idea that they are secured, the entire terrain was encircled with a wall.
Wow.
And one of you guys just said something very nice. You already saw that on the rooftop, you can see those what we call shiniyot in Hebrew. I think dentils or dentils, which actually are very similar to what you see on the walls of the old city. So it also gives you psychologically the idea that you are protected.
still inside the old city.
Mentally inside.
It's very hard to imagine it, and especially for tourists, okay, that everything here, there was nothing here outside. Well, not nothing, wild animals and Bedouins, which also can be sometimes very wild. So it really was to spend overnight outside of the protected city was really risking your lives.
Therefore,
Danger of robbers, people might kill you, okay? So the idea was to give the security. Later, a few years later, Montefiore is adding the smaller building, which is what we can see right below here. You can see it is following the same pattern. It's the music center. And you can see it also has the same shiniyot, the same dentils. This was supposed to be the administrative wing of the entire neighborhood of Mashkanot shananim. By the way, the Jewish sources also mention it, the allotment of Tura, Nachalat Tura. And you're going to see his name downstairs in the sign. Okay? The main entrance, of course, was from the east,
To the east.
from the old city.
You can see.
Now, again, it was very hard to convince the people to come and live here. Montefiore even
Have to pay
gave
them.
money.
They have to pay them for 3 years.
paid them. And yet, for the first years, people used to come here to spend the day here,
And go
but at
sleep
night they would
inside.
go night. But nobody told it to Moshe Montefiore. Nobody wanted to upset him because of it. So the process to live was very. But from the Jewish side, here we're talking about the pioneers, the first one to live. When Moses Montefiore is building the windmill in order to give job, of course, the people inside the wall, especially the Muslims, didn't like the idea. Why? Because there were millers, shananim, right?
Yes.
Also inside.
Inside.
And
Bastot.
something like this, which is a modernity.
بسطات.
طواحين.
دخانين. دخانين.
طواحين.
Yeah.
دخانين بسطات.
The idea was to bring here the grain and the corn and to make a flour
Flour.
for bread. So it was a kind of competition with the traditional millers inside the old city. The legends, I don't know if it's an urban legend, said that they cursed it. And that's the reason why it never functioned more than 20 years. So it's a very nice monument in the landscape of Jerusalem in the horizon, but basically it was not functioning. Do you know another windmill here in Jerusalem? Not
Yes,
far
there
away
is
from
one
here?
in King George Street.
Near King George.
Near King George,
It's
yes.
in the beginning of Rehavia.
Rambam.
I think it's it's
Rambam.
near the King's Hotel. Today it's Prima Hotel, right? But it used to be. I used to be a gardener there. And that belonged to who? To the
Netherlands.
Greek Orthodox Church.
Right.
By the way, the Greek Orthodox Church still owns the property in Rehavia, in the area of Kakal Street. That's a big problem now because it was a lease for 99 years and suddenly all the people living there understood that they're going to be evacuated because
It's finished.
the church, it's finished and now they have to do a new arrangement. So they also built a windmill over there. What is the main reason why this windmill did not function more than 20 years? It was not the curse.
For sure.
There is nobody
Anyone
to...
has an idea?
Wait a minute, so when you say it didn't function more than 20 minutes, so it had one run of 20 years and it was okay, and then it broke down and never got started again. Is that what
Yeah,
you mean?
it broke down and nobody had the money or also the
maintain it.
initiative and the energy to restore it.
Okay.
Okay. What was the reason?
No wind.
No, it's working on the wind. Yeah, there is a wind problem here. The wind is not enough, but still it could have functioned. The main reason there was another source of energy that was brought here, and this has to do with the neighbors that came here a few years later, the Templars, the Germans,
German.
which brought to the Holy Land the coal and the steam engines, exactly. So that was the major reason why there was no need, not for this one and the other one, that belonged to the Greek Orthodox.
And work smart, not hard.
Okay, so after a few years, the second building was built, and that is Mashkanot shananim. Basically, that was the first neighborhood. A few years later, in the early 90s of the 19th century, 1892, another neighborhood was founded nearby, and that is Yamin Moshe. So basically, we relate the windmill to Yamin Moshe, but we have to remember that it was part of Mashkanot shananim. Okay? Yamin Moshe is named after Moses Montefiore. How many neighborhoods in Jerusalem are named after Moses Montefiore?
קריית
קריית
משה,
משה.
ימין משה,
Moshe.
Oel Moshe, Mazkeret Moshe.
שיר משה הון.
We have 19.
19.
19.
אלו זכר.
In the 1890s also there was a foundation named after Moses Montefiore. The money of this foundation was used in order to build neighborhoods in his name, in his memory. Okay? The windmill was part of
Mashkanot
Mashkanot shananim to give.
The second one you mentioned.
Yeah, we have to remember that we have here two neighborhoods. Mashkanot shananim is only this, the two long buildings that we're going to see in a moment,
The neighbors are
and the windmill. A few years later, another neighborhood was founded here, Yamin Moshe. By the way, it was divided into two parts. the Sephardi part and the Ashkenazi part. One of the most impressive buildings here is the Sephardi synagogue.
And we do
Which
have
is a-
both synagogues.
Yeah, each one of the communities had their own synagogue, of course. Something very interesting about it, because we don't have the time to enter inside, but it's very, very recommended. By the way, to do a tour along, if you cross the neighborhood on the other side, there's a beautiful garden, which is built like a Moroccan garden with water fountains and orchards and trees. Very nice. If you want to do a break with your tourists, if you want to do a walk to the old city from here, very, very recommended. On the other side, you have another, I don't know if you had the chance to visit it, what we call the tombs of the family of Herod, Herod the Great. A very, very remarkable burial system from the Second Temple period, which is located on the way to the King David Hotel. And by the way, when you cross this terrain, you're going to see big blocks of stones. On it, you're going to see the Taphos sign of the Greek Orthodox Church, because the terrain still belongs to the Greek Orthodox Church. That's the empty terrain which is actually on the other side of the King David Hotel.
61% of the Greek Orthodox, they used to own 61%.
They owned a
now,
lot of
now
territories.
22, I think, percent.
Yeah, they owned a lot of territories.